We know now for a fact that Football Manager's match engine puts a lot of weight on pace and acceleration. We know for a fact that pace and acceleration in that order are the two attributes that are the most game-breaking, right? In fact, if we look back, we know for a fact that this was the case for many of Football Manager's previous editions, like FM 2008, FM 2006, FM 2016, and so on and so forth. As I've been studying this, looking back over the forums, I increasingly can see how this is true. But the question is, what can we do about it, right? As we've already mentioned, it's kind of hard to find players at every position that have really high levels of pace and acceleration, right? You can go into the pregame editor and screw around. You can go into the game itself and screw around, but when we're talking about the practical application of this, that doesn't help you much. What we need to figure out is what we can do to help players increase their pace and acceleration ratings. Fortunately for us, Max over at Evidence-Based Football Manager has already given us a lot of the numbers that we need to look at to figure out the best way to max out pace and acceleration. Sorry, Max, for the pun. Let's go take a look here. These are the spreadsheets that he's linked to in Dropbox in his videos. Instead of linking to these spreadsheets, I'm going to link to his videos down below. In case you haven't seen them, go watch them and learn about his methodology. Basically, he went through a number of very carefully controlled trial runs using Football Manager's real-time editor, holding everything else constant to see what impact different training sessions have on the game, and how they compare to the default training that comes with a game or having no training at all. Remember, what we are interested in is we're interested in this part right here. We are interested in acceleration and pace. Those are the things that we really, really care about. So what Max did when he put all of this together is, as far as I'm aware, he assumed that we wanted to max out all statistics instead of maxing out maybe 2 or 3 at the expense of all others. But we know, thanks to the testing at FM Arena, that pace and acceleration in that order are much more powerful than any other attribute in the game, and that it's a lot more important to have pace than to have teamwork, for example, or bravery, or long shots, or all this other stuff that we always argue about. So when we look down through this, we keep our eyes open on pace and acceleration, we can see that a lot of these training sessions aren't helping us, like attacking, possession, right, defending. We're not getting much from that. Where we want to pay attention is over here in physical, right, where we're seeing a lot of growth, especially relative to everything else, right? And the other one that we want to pay a lot of attention to, we go all the way down for it, and we'll find it down here near the bottom. This is the real moment of suspense, and here it is, quickness. Quickness gives a little bit more of a boost to acceleration and to pace than to anything else, but it does come with a few problems. Some of this stuff, like flare, I mean, who cares, right? But hitting ability is something that we do care about. We don't want this to completely go away, or you'll look like my Augsburg team and you won't win anything in midfield, right? So that's the thing that we're really paying the most attention to, right? We want to try to include some of these quickness trainings, but we want to do some things to try to fight against some of the adverse effects of quickness. And we also want to make sure that we have as many of these physical trainings as possible as well. Again, trying to avoid the adverse effects to heading ability and so on and so forth. Now, I would argue that the best way to combat those adverse effects would be to include attacking and defending, right? Attacking and defending is not going to hurt pace and acceleration, other than the fact that you're not doing physical and quickness every single session, right? And attacking and defending will help you keep things like heading where it needs to be, especially for your center backs, as you can see over here. So that would be my recommendation for creating your own training structure. Now, when we look at the training combination sheet that Max created, we see something that's very, very similar. So here's the control. Interestingly enough, in the control group with 20-year-old players, you will see increases in pace and acceleration already. This is important to note. So if you're looking for young players who are under 20 in game, if you find a 16-year-old who has 15 pace and 15 acceleration, as long as like there's nothing else weird happening, as long as he's not so fragile that he'll, be out with, a long-term injury as soon as you sign him, and as long as he's not so inconsistent that, it's not going to matter in the end, you need to sign him, right? Because that player, if you do nothing else, might be close to 19 or 20 by the time he's 20 years old or 21, depending, of course, upon his potential ability and how everything else in the game works. That's the sort of player that you're really, really looking for. Now, when you look through this and you look at the different the ways the different combinations improve pace and acceleration, you'll notice that every one of these combinations that Max has come up with does help. The one that we want to focus on, though, I think is this, which is 2 defending, 2 attacking sessions, 3 physical sessions, and the technical session. I would argue that this technical session should really be quickness. That's what you really want, to try to get a little bit more out of pace and acceleration, and hopefully to make sure that we're not taking too much of a hit over to things like heading, which is still really important for us. So my argument is that when you are going through in-game and you're coming up with the training schedule that you want to use, instead of using an extra attacking and defending session, which I believe is what Max comes up as the default, the best thing to do, the most effective thing to do, the thing that will help you win the most in the long term, is to add in an extra physical session and to add in a quickness session. That's the thing that I strongly, strongly recommend doing, because you need to get that extra small boost to pace and acceleration for every outfield player. The truth is that having a team with pace and acceleration for every player that's like around 17, 18, 19 points will make you unstoppable in the game. It's more effective than training other attributes. Now, keep in mind that pace and acceleration are not everything. If you're playing against a team that has equal levels of pace and acceleration, you will need some of the other attributes as well. But chances are you're probably not going to play against teams that are devoted to maxing out pace and acceleration. This is, I think, a very, very important thing to understand, because this is the most effective way to min and max Football Manager. In other words, you want to put all of your emphasis, you want to max out pace and acceleration in training as much as you possibly can, while you want to minimize the growth of all of this other stuff that really doesn't matter, right? Minimize the growth of flair, minimize the growth of teamwork, and all of that. Who cares? We really care about, more than anything else, is pace and acceleration, because we've seen what an incredible impact this can have on the game. That's it for today. Talk to you tomorrow.